That's that seems like the area has developed a lot in the last 20 years. I think it's doubled in size.
Very much so. Very much so. It's Thursday, March 7th, Friday, March 8th, if you're on the East Coast, across the pond, or down under. And this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. Hope you had a great day and night. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you live from the Great White North on top of the snowy mountains of central British Columbia, right here at SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show, including Deep Talk Radio and Revolution Radio. Remember, if you want to listen to our archives, they are free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. You can rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store while you're tuning on in. Read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. Tonight's show is brought to you by the YouTube channel Insuho. Sebastian Martin brings high-quality messages to the masses. Head to our website, click on the Insuho banner, and subscribe today. Tonight we head near the top of the earth, where reports of high strangeness have been heard for decades, if not centuries. Yes, Alaska is a foreign tundra to most in the lower 48 states. Up here in Canada, well, they're great neighbors. But there's a lot of weird things that happen there. From Japan Airlines Flight 1680 nearly colliding with a UFO mothership in the late 80s, to the Alaskan Triangle, where people disappear without a trace. And of course, a plethora of Bigfoot sightings. They are sightings not like anything like what happens in the rest of North America, according to Boreal Sasquatch researcher Michael Thompson, who is our guest tonight. He has been tracking Sasquatch for 30 years in Alaska. His website, SasquatchTracker.com. We're going to bring Michael here in a second. Then at the bottom of hour number 3, I will be bringing you the news with the SOR Newswire, brought to you by Paranoia Magazine. Mr. Michael Thompson, thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you discuss this. Now, you're someone who is, I believe, a retired police officer as well, correct? And retired Coast Guard.
Yeah, I'm still active.
Oh, are you?
Still active law enforcement, yes. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you for doing that. But you're retired Coast Guard.
Yeah, it was 3 years active duty and then transitioned into law enforcement.
Oh, excellent. Excellent. So being a police officer for as long as you have up there in Alaska, do you get a lot of strange cases?
Get lots of reports about strange happenings, mysterious things going bump in the night, people seeing things cross the road in front of them, reports of vandalism and theft from camps and hunting camps, that sort of thing. We get a lot of that.
Really, eh? Because from what I have read up on the state of Alaska, is obviously it's much like Canada, where it's a sparse population except for pockets of areas, and there are a lot of people who go missing up there. A lot of people get lost or just disappear, and there's a lot of people up there as well who seem to have a lot of sightings of everything from Bigfoot to Thunderbirds to UFOs and aliens around. Have you ever taken any of those calls?
Yeah, a little bit of investigation with Thunderbird reports around the Bethel and Dillingham area. I primarily concentrate on Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Not so much on the aliens, but I do kind of keep in touch with UFO guys, the various sightings of UFOs. I do some of that.
So as a police officer, I mean, you have to have a grade of skepticism with you. How strange, in your opinion, is Alaska then?
Well, there's the Bermuda Triangle of Alaska, which is, I want to say it goes from Yakutat to Fairbanks to Anchorage and then back to Yakutat. And in that, if you drew that out on a map of Alaska, you're getting the 3 points there, so you have a triangle. And then those, within that triangle is where the most people seem to disappear unexplained disappearances. So when you hear things about happening on the coast, it's a fishing accident or, somebody being knocked overboard and drowning, something like that. But when you hear about these things that are in the it's a pretty remote region. I mean, there is a way that goes through it, but once you get off the road, it's easy to step into the wilderness. And so these things are hard to investigate, hard to follow the mystique and mystery surrounding that area.
So when one of these missing people's cases comes in with this Alaskan Triangle, there's a lot of people down here who think it's just a myth. It's just something where, the triangle adds some sort of mystique to everything like it does down in Bermuda. Do you believe the triangle there is a real thing?
Well, not so much the actual shape, the triangle itself, it's just that region. It's not like it's related to, putting a razor blade inside of a pyramid to keep it sharp. You shave with it every day kind of a thing. So it's not really tied to a three-sided, like ley lines or something like that. It's just the triangle denotes the region where these things are happening. Is that what you're asking?
Well, what is actually happening up there? Because for a lot of us, we hear about these strange stories that are happening in that area with people just disappearing out of the blue. But we also know on a reality sense that there's a lot of big animals that can kill you up there. Whether it's the moose, the elk, the wolves, the black bears, the grizzly bears. I believe there's hybrids of grizzlies and polar bears up there as well. I mean, there's a lot of things that can do some damage to a person.
Some speculation of a remote wolf pack of dire wolves that are left over from the last ice age. You hear a lot of stories about that kind of thing also.
Really? Could you explain that a little bit?
The term is like a wahila. Not exactly sure of the spelling. I'm sure it varies from place to place. But a wahila is like a overgrown or extra large wolf, not necessarily like a dog man up on two legs, but just a large wolf. Some people believe like a wolf bear dog hybrid, something that crossed with other species in there. Extra large and extra mean. Definitely apex predators.
Definitely. And, you know, my area has a lot of wolf packs around it, too. Actually, I was quite surprised because I recently, yesterday, read a report that the moose population has really taken off down in the Yellowstone area, and they've actually flown some Canadian wolves from a moose area that they captured into Yellowstone to go harvest some of the moose down there. So I found that quite interesting. But in your area, knowing how dangerous it is and everything, with these people who are going missing in this Alaskan Triangle, do you think there is something suspect about it? Maybe a murderer, or maybe something a little bit more supernatural, shall we say?
Well, first of all, there's like two kinds of people that are disappearing here. One is the person that wants to disappear, somebody that's a fugitive from justice. Alaska is the last frontier, so a lot of people do a crime and then they know that they're wanted. And to avoid jail, they flee up here in hopes of disappearing, so maintain being low key and off the grid, so to say. And the other ones are mishaps. Something happened. Territorial infringement with, you know, the wahila packs, the dire wolf packs. Also, there's the possibility of, you know, the Boreal Sasquatch being a murder, or not necessarily murder, but defending the territory, being an alpha male, defending another group of Sasquatches, that kind of thing. There's always that kind of possibility.
Michael, down in the lower 48 and even in areas of Canada, a lot of police officers would take a lot of heckling from your brothers and sisters in the police force for looking for things like Sasquatch or UFOs. But up there, when you hear the stories and you hear the eyewitness account straightforward, is it a little bit different? Do you, not only you, but your fellow officers as well, believe that this creature is real?
This kind of a business is kind of a independent business, and it comes with the territory to be ridiculed and made fun of. People, they want to believe, but then again, they feel like they're going to be ridiculed if they do. And for those of us that do believe and do actively look for things such as this, we get picked on quite a bit. That's just part of the nature of the business, though.
So you do take some good fair ribbon from your fellow police officers then, obviously.
Yeah, you got to have some thick skin. You really do.
So why did you decide to get into Sasquatch research 30 years ago?
Well, growing up in Idaho in the mid-'70s, that's when all these Bigfoot and Sasquatch movies came out. Legend of Boggy Creek, that kind of thing. It was always neat to ride our bikes down to the movie theater and watch these things. But then when the show was over and everybody was going home and going their own separate ways, you know, my groups of friends and stuff, I always had this feeling or thought in the back of my mind that, you know, what if that was true? And growing up, I did lots and lots of outdoor stuff, hunting and camping, and I was involved in Boy Scouts. And so I spent many nights outside, you know, during the year camping and such. And I always had that thought in my mind, and I was always kind of tuned into, you know, what can I do to, you know, attract something like that, or what would I do if something did, you know, happen like that. So growing up as a boy, I was heavily influenced by these movies, and I got a little bit older, and I was going to college in northern Idaho at the time, and I was kind of halfway discouraged. My grades weren't that great. I was just an average guy. But I had wanted to drop out of school, and I was going to go up to British Columbia in order to conduct research full time. Well, I got up to the border, and of course I was turned away because I hadn't researched what I needed. I had to have like a non-immigrant visa or something like that. Had to have be sponsored by a scientific research group, and I had to show means of supporting myself and things like that. I just didn't think it through, so I wasn't prepared. But I didn't let that deter me. So later on, when I came up to Alaska later in life, I was still had this the interest in Sasquatch. And when I got to my present location, I was reading online. I don't recall the actual website, but there was a report of a Sasquatch that had crossed the road in front of these people that was about a 15-minute drive from where I was. So I immediately went down to that site and tried to recreate where they were they were pulling a trailer. They described it. So I was, okay, I'm not going the speed limit. I'll be going 10 miles underneath the speed limit or something like that so I could time it out. And I got down to where I thought this encounter had happened, and I took a good look around, and I was convinced myself that this was the right environment for something like this to happen. So there was a period, from like college to that, reading that encounter, that I was kind of in my dry phase, as you want to say. But once I got that hold that encounter and went down and investigated that area, it was kind of like being recharged. So right after that, I founded the Sasquatch Tracker website, and I've been maintaining it since then, and I've been an active researcher. There's just, there's dry spells in research. You come and go, and then some things will happen, and then you'll go for a long time and there won't be any reports, and you're scouring the internet and newspapers looking for something. And then I will say that during the summer, because of the amount of tourism in Alaska, the reports increase. And that's just because, obviously for somebody to report something, there has to be somebody there seeing something. So as the tourist population goes up, and there's more people and more activity, then of course you have more occurrences. And then a lot of these things can be written off as, somebody's looking at the tail of the end of a moose walking away from them. So you see that the moose's butt looks kind of like big, thick shoulders, and you got those two long, so they're seeing something like that. But other times, there's nothing else to attribute it to except for a Sasquatch.
Well, you know what? It is one of those creatures, Michael, that you have to see it to believe it for a lot of people. I've had the fortunate task of, or I guess not task, but the fortune of seeing two of these creatures, and I was within about 100 feet of them, and they are big, they are strong. You can just sense it.
Yeah, and that's a lot of these people. They maintain this. I know what I saw when I speak to them. And there's other people that, I guess that could have been a bear, or that could have been, a caribou standing behind the tree, and it looked just right. But when the people that do encounter these things and they're positive that they witnessed this, they're like you just described, that they know what they saw, and they know because of the powerful feeling or the presence set the scene, that kind of like here's the apex predator, apex scavenger that's off in this distance, and when you're in their territory.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Now, you mentioned, as we got about 5 minutes here before we go to break at the bottom of the hour, you mentioned about, you see a moose from behind, it looks like a big set of hairy shoulders. And I'm going to assume, because I've never seen a grizzly bear in the wild yet, I'm hoping to, but I'm going to assume that with the size of the bears around there and everything's a little bit bigger, a little bit stronger and heavier, that there must be a lot of of people assuming that they're seeing creatures like Sasquatch when in reality it could be a bear or a moose, like you say, or some other animal.
Well, bears are curious, and if you're near a bear, it's not unusual for a bear to stand up on its hind legs and take a look at you. So now you've got the silhouette of something standing up that's bulky. If you catch it just right, you're not going to be able to see the ears. So you're looking at something that, head on at a bear's face, and the ears may be laid back. It's going to look like a human type shape. Some of the bears are pretty big, so you've got, bears that when they stand on their hind legs, they're 7 or 8 feet tall. So that adds to that. When you're looking at the moose walking away, of course, you've got that big, the butt right there, and you've got those 2 long legs, and especially a cow moose because there's no antlers. So when you're looking at this moose from the back, you've got the back of the moose's head that appears to be sitting on top of the moose's butt. So that adds to that overall silhouette or outline of what looks like a Sasquatch to most people. So that kind of thing gets it, I can write those things off as, yeah, that could have been a moose. And then when I go down and look and, there's moose tracks, okay, not a problem. It's just, mistaken identity.
When people have that mistaken identity, out of all the cases that you are seeing up there, how many of those cases are, in fact, something different?
I would say it's about 50-50. Some of these things, it's, people aren't, sure what they're looking at. One of the things that gets people is because of the summer, it's light almost 24 hours a day, land of the midnight sun. So these people are used to going to bed when it gets dark out. Well, it never really gets dark out. So these people are fatigued. I take my pill every day before I go to bed. Well, you haven't been to bed in 4 days, so they're not taking their medicine. Sometimes they're dehydrated. Going to Alaska for some people is the trip of a lifetime. So they're trying to cram, a lifetime of activities up here into a 2-week period. So people are fatigued and dehydrated and not taking the medicine. Not that everybody takes medicine, but a lot of times when people don't take their medicine, they see things. Excuse me. So when you factor this kind of a thing in, the mistaken identity kind of grows a little bit. But then there's other times when people, they can't unexplain it, or I can't look at what they're saying and dissect it into being a hoax or mistaken identity. So that's the other half of it. People just, I know what I saw. And so when they fill out a witness report with me and we try to get it notarized, because then it's a sworn statement, and then we've got something to go on with that.
There's a lot of military up there as well. How do we know we're not seeing a lot of military people in camouflage, maybe testing out new types of gear or something along those lines? And we got about 90 seconds here.
I think that's always a possibility of, like the Army doing some maneuvers, wilderness maneuvers, testing out, a new uniform or new techniques, or, even survival training in the remote part where people aren't used to seeing other people do that kind of a thing. So you've got activity going on that can't be explained. There's always that possibility. There's always the possibility of hunters doing the same thing, trying out a new place to hunt. And, somebody that usually goes in this valley is seeing somebody new in the valley and it's different to them. So they can't explain it. But I think with the military, that's going to be more around the Anchorage and Fairbanks area. Out where I am, there isn't really any military at all. It's all in town. So in that Alaska triangle, you've got Fairbanks and Anchorage, and that's where it's going to be concentrated around there.
Michael, I'm going to get you to sit on tight here as we are going to get into a lot of Bigfoot and a lot of strange happenings in the state of Alaska tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Our guest, once again, is Mr. Michael Thompson. He's got a great website if you want to check it on out. It's called SasquatchTracker.com. Once again, that's SasquatchTracker.com. Is there a difference between the Bigfoot we know and the Bigfoot in Alaska? We're going to find out right after this on the Mighty SOR.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot Thal, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Welcome back to the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott, broadcasting to you from the Captain's Chair of SOR headquarters. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, a great way to support this show is to head over to our store on our website, spacedoutradio.com, click on the shop tab, and go get your SOR gear, t-shirts, hats, hoodies, coffee mugs, you name it, we got it. Thank you so much. It's a great way to support what we do here on a nightly basis, and you get something in return as well. Tonight we are talking the Boreal Sasquatch. From SasquatchTracker.com, Michael Thompson joins us. He is a law enforcement officer who dabbles in the cryptid community way, way up north in the state of Alaska. Michael, thank you so much for doing this tonight. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Now, I do want to preface to a lot of people that if Michael literally lives in the middle of nowhere, so if his cell phone is cracking out, that's because of that. So just be patient with us. We got a great connection. We're hoping it sticks for the entire show, but I just want to let our audience know that, you know, when you live in the middle of nowhere, like some of us do, Mike, myself included, you can't always trust that cell phone.
Yeah, I'm running the phone through my internet, which is through the satellite, so pray for good weather. We'll keep the signal strong.
Perfect. Living up in Alaska, obviously there's a lot of long nights during the winter and long days during the summer. Is there an increase in Sasquatch activity or cryptid activity in general during the darkest times of year comparatively to the brightest times of year, or vice versa?
I think that it's pretty much equal year round. Obviously, with the tourist people in the summer, the population kind of goes up, so there's a lot more people, so there's a lot more people seeing things. However, the flip side of that, in the winter when nothing's going on and it's, 25 to 30 below and dark, there's still a lot of Sasquatch activity going on because people are finding tracks in the snow and in, year round in the winter. People are having encounters. There was an encounter on New Year's Eve, a gentleman playing with his dog in the driveway, kind of woofing at his dog. The dog, to interact with the dog, and then he was hearing something that was mimicking him 50 to 100 yards down his driveway. It was dark out, he can't see. But so you've got a lot of activity, year round. So I can't really say that there's a seasonal marker or seasonal indicator. June 1st is when things take off. I can't really say that. There's not a pattern like that.
What's the difference between the Sasquatch, say, in British Columbia or Washington State, or even way down to, the swamp monsters of Louisiana and Florida, comparatively to the Sasquatch that you were tracking up there?
Well, I don't think it's like a separate species. There's not, or a race. Sasquatch is a Sasquatch is a Sasquatch. However, within the group of Sasquatch, there's going to be different variations from region to region. What I'm seeing up here, I called it the Boreal Sasquatch, Boreal meaning north and northern. It's kind of more like a marked hominid. That's a Mark Hall reference. He was mentioned in a book by Lauren Coleman. I can't remember the title right now, but anyway, the marked hominid, because of the latitude towards the polar region, Arctic and subarctic area where I am, the boreal forest, you're seeing these Sasquatches, and when they say marked hominid, they're marked because they have like a dappled appearance. So you might have something that's, all black with a little bit of variation, from the top of the head to the center of the back and the chest and stuff. But then there'll be some markings on it, like kind of like a dog having a white chest, but the rest of the body is black. That's that marked, what they call marked. And so the marked hominid, we get a lot of reports about that kind of thing. So I just kind of adapted that the marked hominid was the Boreal Sasquatch because of the location. When you look at different maps, if you look online for marked hominid regions, you'll see that it's mostly in the Boreal biome where I am. So I just kind of adopted that.
The creature that you... Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. I can't say that they're different race or different species, but it's like the black bears. If you looked online for a black bear, there'd be, there's a handful of different types of black bears, but they're still all black bears that can breed with each other. So they're not different species, and they're not really a different race because a black bear is a black bear, but they vary slightly from region to region. That's what I was going to add there.
The creature that you are seeing up there, are you seeing a creature that is 7 to 8 feet tall, probably 350 pounds plus, or are you seeing a creature that is much larger, much like the grizzly bears or the moose up there, which are much larger than where I am or other people are in North America?
7.5 to 8.5 feet tall is like the average, it seems like, in most of the reports that I'm getting. You've got tracks that are about 16 inches long. But then I've got other people that are reporting tracks up to 2 feet long. When you do, there's a formula for that. Let's see here. I got it in my notes here. To calculate the height from the track, it's the length of the track in inches times 6.04 So when you've got something, let me open my calculator here and I'll do it real quick for you. So when you've got something that's leaving a 2-foot track, it's 144.96 inches tall. So you're talking about something that's 12 feet. 144, divided by 12 is 12. So when people are talking about 2-foot tracks, you're talking about a 12-foot Sasquatch. It's very possible. The environment would definitely support it. The food sources and things like that are definitely here. But what I'm seeing mostly, 7.5 to 8.5 feet tall in the reports that are coming to me.
Incredible. That is large. I mean, up to 12 feet tall. That would have to be in the 500 to 700 pound range.
No, I think you better go a little higher. 900 to 1,100 pounds.
You got to be kidding.
No, something that big, and being an apex predator, apex scavenger, I mean, it's definitely the king of the mountain. So, yeah, it's got to be close to 1,000.
Incredible. That is large. But I guess it goes to its environment, like you said. And do you believe it is an apex predator? Down here, we don't hear a lot about Sasquatch going after deer or moose or anything like that. We think of them as, fish eaters. We think of them as berry type eaters, and almost, I don't want to use the word vegetarian, but maybe more so of their diet. Up there, are they more aggressive and more animalistic?
Well, apex predator as well as being apex scavenger. If something was to come upon, let's say for an example, a caribou that had been killed by wolves, and the wolves are sitting around eating this thing, the Boreal Sasquatch is definitely, being the size and being the apex being, is definitely going to try to steal that from the wolves. When there's lots of reports of roadkill, and then you go back to look at where this thing was killed, and it's gone. And is it, not necessarily somebody that has picked it up, because there's a roadkill salvage list. People do, like down there, somebody hits a deer, then it goes to a needy family or something like that. But up here, kind of the same thing. I've seen caribou that have been hit by vehicles, and then I've gone back the next day and they're gone. And there's like strange drag marks and things that lead back into the woods. So it's not really the wolf pack dragging this thing off, but I'm going to say it's a Sasquatch dragging it off. So there is some predatory nature to it. I mean, that's part of being the apex predator. But I would also think that there's a lot of scavenging going on too. And like you say, not just, the fish eating and the berries and things like that. You've got the voles, which a vole is kind of like a mouse or a shrew. There's plenty of those up here. There's plenty of small game, snowshoe hares and ptarmigan and grouse and things like this that are easy to capture, that don't require a lot of effort to capture. If you're running after a moose to try to grab it around the neck and wrestle it, kind of like steer wrestling in rodeo, you're expending an awful lot of calories on something that might not necessarily go right in the end. Meaning that, you could be injured doing that. So taking an unnecessary risk in order to eat something, it would happen in a survival situation, sure. And the more hungry you get, the more desperate you become. So Sasquatches do desperate things. However, I think the small game is where they're concentrating, the ptarmigan and the voles and the squirrels and the snowshoe hares and things like that. And the fish. There's lots of fish up here. The grayling and the pike, and a lot of the lakes around here are stocked with rainbow trout by the fishing game people up here. So there's always that possibility too.
When you look at the way things have been discussed about this creature, there's a big part of the population that believes it's a great ape of North America, or that it is some sort of bipedal mammal. Then there is more the indigenous side of things, where they believe it's more supernatural. Up in Alaska, what does that debate continue on both sides, or are you leaning more one way or another because there are so many indigenous people up there?
I think the general attitude up here is more of a flesh and blood being, because of leaving tracks behind and vandalism happening in remote settings like camps and remote villages. There's always going to be a spiritual aspect or a supernatural aspect because people are trying to explain something that's unknown to them. It's something that has, something like that. But I think the general attitude for Alaska is flesh and blood being. In southeast Alaska, there's a Kushtaka, which is kind of like an otter man. And that's more of a supernatural thing, but that's in with the Native Americans down there and their spiritual beliefs. Up here in the interior of Alaska, flesh and blood being.
So with that, do we see a lot of areas where there are tracks that just disappear? Because I think that's one of the mysteries as to why people believe that there is some sort of supernatural power with this, because there have been so many reports, even in the snow or mud, where tracks just seem to stop and not go anywhere.
Yeah, I think that from being a tracker looking at that, I don't want to criticize people, but that kind of stems from like inexperience of the witness. When they're looking at something and the track suddenly stop, are they using a tracking stick in order to figure out where the next footfall would be and predicting these things? Are they just looking at the last track that they see and not trying to look for a trail further on? And so then they're saying, well, it just disappeared. Wherever the thing goes, the tracks are going to eventually stop. Well, they stop at where, the maker. And some people, they follow these things for miles and then they just get too exhausted and say, oh, yeah, I lost the trail, and kind of give up. Other people, you're stepping from soft mud up onto a fallen down tree and then continuing the trail on past, going over the tree. Well, they're losing the track when it steps up on the tree, and they're not looking for the clues that, the compressed bark or scraped moss or anything like that on the tree trunk. So they're kind of saying that, well, the trail stopped right there. So I don't want to criticize witnesses, but I kind of think that it's due to inexperience and not knowing exactly, not having the tracking knowledge.
Our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Sasquatch tracker, Michael Thompson, up in the state of Alaska. Michael, some of the curiosity questions that are coming out, we'll get more into audience questions in hour number 2, but I want to ask this one in regards to the fact that you believe this creature is some sort of mammal. How do you go about discussing this with First Nations type people and indigenous people who may believe otherwise? Or do you know of some of those legends that are up there that maybe you could share?
You have to go into every situation with an open mind. When people say they've seen something, I kind of go into the interview with the attitude is that you have to convince me that you saw something. That's one of the ways I weed out hoaxes. But there are some people that do have the belief, and they tie a supernatural or a spiritual power to it. And I always take that into consideration, what their background and their, religious views or their upbringing, in a remote village versus a very populated town where there's more exposure to the outside world and things. So you always have to take that into account. But however, like I said before, most of the people up here, the attitude is flesh and blood, so not so much a spiritual aspect.
Indeed. How about families of these creatures? Have you ever had run-ins with families with childlike Bigfoot following around mom and dad Sasquatch?
Well, there's definitely families, because there's definitely more than one. So there's a male and a female, and they're getting together and reproducing, obviously. Sasquatch families, different reports, people are hearing mimicking voices when they're picking berries. So there's more than one being. Hard to say the exact social structure, a male and a female and then offspring, and then the young males are kind of going their own way when they get into their teenage years, and the females are staying with the females and things like that. It's hard to say on that, but definitely reports of, here's the tall Sasquatch being followed by the small Sasquatch. So you look at the size between the two, and it's obviously this is the adult and this is the juvenile. So people do see that kind of thing. So yes, there are family units. I'm going to leave it at that because of based on the size of what people are observing.
So what people are observing up there, are they having a lot of interaction with this creature? Does it know and recognize, like for instance with yourself, being in the business for 30 years, does it know and recognize when you're around, or is it quite a shy creature like we see around here?
There's always going to be some elusive nature. That's just the way it is. In some of my research areas up here where I know that there's definite Sasquatch activity, I can go up there and do some experimentation. I've had something mimic me while I was speaking with my children when we were up on the mountain in the research area. So I know that they're aware of our presence. Sometimes I think that I think there's more Sasquatch than people realize, but because of their elusiveness, they would rather avoid the contact with humans. It's kind of like bears. You could drive by a bear and not see it because it's standing 4 feet back into the trees, and you would never see it. So there's a lot of it's there, but you don't know it, but it's aware of you.
Yeah, we've had that happen up here while we were out, out looking for firewood, where all of a sudden my buddy who's driving says, "Oh, there's a moose in the trees," and you look, and I'm right beside him, and I look right in the exact direction. I'm like, where? And then if it wasn't for a couple of branches moving, I would have never have seen it. I mean, that's how well camouflaged nature allows animals to disappear.
It takes two body length steps into the trees and it's gone. You'll never see it. Exactly.
It's very dangerous. We only got about 90 seconds left before we got to go to break here at the top of the hour, Michael. In regards to the way Sasquatch disappears and everything up there, do you believe that it has perfected its area? That it stays on its own tracks, or do you believe it's wandering around everywhere? Because obviously for a creature that elusive, it would have to be able to recognize or have some sort of pattern on where it's walking, running, or maybe even having to escape.
Yeah, there's a definite pattern to daily activity too, because it's going to go someplace for a water source. It's going someplace to gather food for the day, returning to that place, in the evening or something like that. So there's got to be some known routes that it's using. But then again, depending on the situation and what's going on in the environment, there's also going to be an alternate route or an alternate path that's not going to be so well defined. And then there's the outright, panic, scrambling up a hill to get away from something where there's no path at all defined. So was that kind of what you were hinged on there? Or
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we can get more into that when we come back from our first break. Michael, I'm going to get you to just sit tight for a little bit here because we're going to wrap up hour number 1. Hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio is right around the corner, and we're going to continue to talk about Bigfoot up in Alaska. The legendary Sasquatch hanging out in the forests of the frozen American tundra. We don't get to say that a lot on this show. Normally it's the Canadian tundra we're bragging about. But the American tundra hiding the Sasquatch. We'll be back with more Spaced Out Radio in hour number 2 right after this.
Every night on Spaced Out Radio, we have places for you to hang out. Hi, this is Carl. Join our SOR Space Travelers group on Facebook for live chat. On Twitter, using hashtag Spaced Out Radio, you can also join us in our Spreaker chat room. Check us out on Instagram at Dave Scott SOR. All of our archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. By the way, I'll be watching you at your window until you do. Bye!
Looking for the stories of the strange and weird that you will find hard to find anywhere else? Check out the SOR Newswire on our website. Our writers, led by Captain Shirk, are scouring the world for the oddest and most bizarre stories we can find. Everything from weird crime to suspenseful and paranormal. We're working hard for you to bring you the most intriguing news of your day. Check out the SOR Newswire at spacedoutradio.com today.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother Is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother Is Watching.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Welcome back to hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Thank you so much for being with us. Tomorrow night on the show, Jason Haxton joins us. We're going to talk about the haunted Dybbuk box. Is it really evil if you open it? We'll find out at 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, and UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans. On the digital side, Revolution Radio and Deep Talk Radio, good to have you with us. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives for free at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Superbius. Superbius is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. While you're listening to the show, great way to support us is by going to our Spaced Out Radio store, picking yourself up a t-shirt, a coffee mug, hats, hoodies, you name it, we got it. Great way to support us, so that's the way to do it. And of course, we'd love the fact that we'd love a picture with you in our gear. And also, read up on Captain Shirk's SOR Newswire and so much more. We're talking Sasquatch tonight, and we're heading way north into the state of Alaska, where Michael Thompson joins us. He's been researching Sasquatch for 30 years. His website, sasquatchtracker.com. And if you're up in that area, well, he could probably show you some good evidence as well. Michael, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
Now, right before the break, I was asking you about, any type of paths or areas that are filled. Have you been able to notice any migration paths that these creatures are taking?
Yeah, there's going to be some seasonal migration here. Obviously, in the winter, food is scarce. Everything's frozen and covered with snow. So you've got caribou that migrate through. So I believe that there's some migration that's following the caribou herd, just like the wolf packs and the coyotes would be doing in the summer. Because Alaska is so big, it's like, it's 1/4 of the size of the lower 48. So you've got this huge region. So there's a lot of summer travel too, when certain things are in bloom or ripe. When berries, the raspberries on this hill are good, and then a week later you got to go to at the end here up in the trees where the cranberries are. So there's a lot of the seasonal travel, seasonal migration, if you will, that follow these food sources. And that's what I wanted to add, that because you have things going on like this, it's hard to do some research in certain areas. You kind of have to be tuned in to what's going on in the environment. It's not just, show up and set up a trail camera and leave a few trinkets and, marbles and things like that and hope for the best. You've got to kind of fine tune where you're going to be based on your knowledge of the environment and based on the knowledge of the food sources.
So what do you think Sasquatch is feeding on up there?
You name it. You look at a person, I'm not overly muscular or anything like that. I do work out and things like that. I could easily eat 2,300 calories per day just to maintain my homeostasis. So you've got something that's, 8 feet tall, several hundred pounds more than the average man. So if we look at the calorie requirement for something that big, you're burning an awful lot of calories in the winter just staying warm also. So you've got to have a tremendous food source in order to maintain just the body weight and, your homeostasis, your everyday averages here. So you're also expending a lot of energy in the winter because of the weather and, moving through the snow and things like this. So it's eating just about everything it can get its hands on to maintain that high calorie, the input in order to survive. In the summer, things are a little bit more relaxed. The weather's a little bit more temperate, of course. So, and it's not as much effort to find berries and things like that because, there's other food sources that are readily available throughout the environment because of the season.
Do you think they're hibernating?
Life is hard in the winter.
Do you think they hibernate?
There's periods of inactivity, not so much hibernating like bears, not something like that denned up because people are finding tracks and having encounters in the winter. So they're not necessarily a true hibernation, sleeping in a den or a cave or a shelter someplace. But there's periods of inactivity. It's something that kills a caribou, has a full belly. It can go lay up for a couple of days and digest its meal and maybe get up to drink and things like that, and then start the period of activity again. There's going to be some kind of circadian rhythm, with the daylight and things like that too. Things are more active at night, nocturnal hunting and things like that, as opposed to being in the daylight when it's hard to sneak up on things because you're seen. So not a true hibernation, but definitely periods of inactivity.
I want to get to some audience questions here, if you don't mind, because we always like to include them in on the chase here as well. And Joey is saying, Mr. Thompson, Off trail in the mountains of Colorado, I've come across different types of tree stacking, including one time even with a curious trident type supporting branch with no evidence of human presence. Do you consider this a Sasquatch behavioral trait?
Definitely. I find lots of tree formations and things like that up here as well. And I attribute that to Sasquatch activity, especially when you're in a remote setting and there is no signs of, human activity. So, yeah, definitely you were onto something with that.
All right, let's get to another question here from the audience. This one comes from Joey again. Are there any statistical Sasquatch trends reported where the location becomes noticeably absent of wildlife sounds, especially birds singing? Also, do reports indicate they avoid game trails or linger near them?
Yeah, is that hinting towards being elusive then? And then
I would assume so, yes.
Caution when the Sasquatch... Yeah, okay. Birds normally react like that when predators come in, and it takes a while for birds to get used to something being in the area. So when animal noises kind of cease, including insect noises, because they know something is passing through the area or something is in the area, but after a few minutes of getting used to it or being acclimatized to it, the noises will resume. And as far as avoiding game trails and things like that, Sasquatch are notorious for being elusive, so it's following the game trail, but at a distance because it's observing the game, not necessarily using the same trail. I hope I answered that correctly.
All right, let's move on to another one.
That's what they were asking.
For sure. Andrew is asking, Michael, have you ever had anything thrown at you?
No. Encountered tree knocking, voice mimicking, had the thing being stopped, chased, but never had any sticks or rocks or anything thrown my direction. Or if it's occurred, it's not something that I noticed because, I was feeling afraid and, I was in fear. So it's not something that I picked up on if it did occur.
When you are out in the forest, are you usually in a group or do you go out there alone?
I'm by myself or I have my adult son with me.
And what are you looking for?
I do a lot of solo and independent investigation. I'm concentrating on a couple of different areas right now in my kind of vicinity. I say vicinity within a 30-mile radius of where I am. And these are areas that I know of Sasquatch activity. So, you got to kind of concentrate on where the things are for the most success, of course. But I'm always looking for other things as I'm driving into town to buy groceries and things like this. I'm always have my eyes out. But I concentrate where I know things are.
So with that area that you are investigating in, is it... what's the terrain like? Is it very rugged? Is it mountainous? Is there a lot of water areas there as well?
Well, it's a boreal forest environment. So you've got hills are covered with spruce and larch and birch and lots of moss everywhere, sphagnum moss. Because of the moisture. Lowlands are where the water collects, and it's more or less like a bog. So that you got cranberries and things like that, and blueberries and that kind of thing. It's hard to get around some of these places because there's so much water. It's easier to travel by boat. But once you get out of these low-lying areas and up into hills, it's a little bit easier to travel. Depending on exactly where you are, some of it's real steep, some of it's kind of rolling foothills. Where I am, it's more of a foothill. Some people may call it a mountain, but to me it's kind of a foothill because I think of the mountain as being above the tree line, kind of like Everest or, Mount Rainier kind of a thing. But a little bit further north, when you're a subarctic thing, and there's less trees because of the elevation, but you still got the same types of terrain features. There's some rock outcroppings. You've got streams in the valleys and things like that. But down where I am, I'm at about 1,800 feet, 1,850 feet. So I'm kind of nestled in a valley. If somebody wants the map, it's near Scotty Creek, which is a tributary of Shoshana River, which is a tributary of the Tanana River. So that giant river valley is wide, expansive, so it's in a low area. I'm going to say, well, there's a wildlife refuge here, and they claim that they produce 1 million ducklings a year, and that's because of the water. That's how much water there is. If that's a good idea, I'm a way to judge that.
So the creature that you were tracking then, what kind of signs are you looking for when you are out in the forest? How do you know that it's not the markings of a bear or a moose or even a fox or something along those lines?
Well, I'm not trying to brag, but I'm a pretty accomplished bear hunter. I think I've shot maybe, I'm going to say 15 bears in the last 15 years. Had some very up-close encounters with bears, face-to-face, bad breath to bad type of encounters. So I kind of know bears, and so I know the difference between the bear sign and the Sasquatch sign. As far as moose, you've got the definite hoof tracks, and then, of course, the pelletized droppings. Caribou are going to be the same way. They've got that hoof-shaped track. The scat from them, different kind of scat. Sasquatch scat is going to be more bear-like or human-like. So when you look at, you got to just judge it on the characteristics of the sign that you're seeing.
What kind of evidence have you found?
Lots of tracks, found unexplained tree structures, like the question before. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and there's something that looks man-made, but it's not man-made because there's no evidence of somebody being here before me to set it up, because I've gone to places where I didn't tell anybody where I was going and found these things, so nobody's trying to hoax me. I mean, the chances are 1 in a bajillion trillion that somebody would build a tree structure where I was going to go because I didn't tell them. So I rule these things out, that's not a hoax, that's a real event. So I'm finding lots of things like that. Tracks, I find a lot. Easier to find tracks in the snow during the winter driving because the light conditions. So first of all, you'll see the shadows as the light hits it as you're driving by, either sunlight or headlights from the vehicle. And of course, snow is the perfect medium because, it shows every track.
Absolutely.
So it's easy to find that. And, in the summer, you've got that's part of the science, so you got to get down on your hands and knees and be looking for tracks.
But no creature. You haven't been able to get that elusive video or shot yet. Why, after 30 years, do you think it's been so tough?
It's the nature of the business. Some people have, the chance encounter. Some people like me, if you want something, you won't get it. But if you kind of have a relaxed attitude, that's kind of cool, then it falls in your lap. Maybe that's the thing. Proof than we have been in the past because of the technology that's being used by researchers. Deploying drones to survey areas and things like that. Something's going to happen soon because of the increase in the technology and the sophistication of it.
Incredible. Let's get to another question from Joey here. And he is asking, what do you ascertain is the Sasquatch's intelligence level or brain development as it may pertain to their control of their vocal box?
Definitely some higher intelligent because there's a language, not necessarily, complete sentences and describing thoughts or feelings like humans do, but there's a means of communication from one being to the other. Like there's different kinds of wolf howls or different kinds of yips that coyotes are making that mean different things. So you have different vocalization between different Sasquatches. So there is definitely the ability to communicate, so that I'm showing that cognitive ability according to language or the existence of language is pretty high.
And to follow up with that, have you heard with your own ears Sasquatch mimicking any type of human-type sounds?
Up on the hill with my son, I think my daughter was with me, and I got kind of a big family. So there was a couple other children with me, too. We're talking. It was a research area that's been pretty active for the last 10 years for me. We were up there talking, and I kept hearing something that sounded like people talking, and it's like, there's no way, because we're the only people around. And my children agreed that something was mimicking what we were saying, and when we would speak, they would make the noise that or mimic what we were saying, not necessarily words, but like the low mumble thing that you would hear off in the distance. And then when we would stop speaking, the mimicking or the noise would stop. So and the way this environment is with the trees and the ground cover and stuff, it was not an echo. There was not a possibility of an echo there. So something was observing us from a distance and kind of repeating or mimicking what we were seeing. So I have had some experience in that. Quite a bit of experience, really. This happened more than once to me in that area.
Let's get to another question. This one comes from Trip, who is asking, have you ever had the opportunity to investigate the Matanuska Valley?
I have reports from that area. I'm about my location. I'm an 8-hour drive on 400 miles from Anchorage, 385 from Palmer and Wasilla. So that heart of that Matanuska Valley is not off limits, but it's hard for me to get there to investigate something. So if I do go into Anchorage and Palmer and Wasilla a couple of times a year, and if there's something big or something that I need to investigate, I try to follow up while I'm in town. But most of the things I do are via the internet or by phone, just because of the location and the amount of distance that I have to travel.
How often are you out there? How often are you looking?
Every day. Not actively at my research areas every day, but I'm outside every day driving to and from work. I'm on a remote section of an Alaska highway, so I'm always looking for tracks, especially this time of year, because the caribou are moving through right now to get back to their summer range up in north of Fairbanks. So like I said before, with the caribou migration, or the caribou's moving through here, there's that possibility of, the wolf and the coyote packs, of course, but then you've got the Sasquatch that's taking advantage of this, seasonal food source. So I'm always scanning for tracks and things like that when I'm going to and from work. I work out a lot outside, personal projects and things like that. So I'm always tuned into what's going on around me, because I can take 2 steps out the door and I'm kind of in the wilderness. And so I need to be conscious. I've had, up close bear encounters, not in the winter or anything like that, but, I've come face to face with moose and thought, oh man, this is it. I'm going to get stomped into the ground like a tent stake. So I have to be tuned into these kinds of things. So to wrap that up back into, the question there, I'm always looking. It's a never ending thing. It only stops while I'm laying down in bed asleep.
Another question from Joey here. He is saying, have you been able to record any of these Sasquatch verbalizations and subjected them to any sort of analysis for phonetic mapping to compare to other known animals?
Hard for me to do because of my equipment. In order for me to have something that I can catch a recording with, I have to leave it on. I can't there's some sounds and then turn on a recorder, because then I might miss, there might not be another opportunity that it's a one-time sound or something like that. The trail cameras that I use are only for photography. They don't record, sounds or noise or anything like that. The use of directional microphones, I've tried it, but I get so much background and interference, and I think it's due to probably the condition of my equipment. So to answer the question, no, I can't make a decent recording that's worthy of sending in to get analyzed.
Right.
That I feel
I understand that. Do you get a lot of the blurry photos up there? Blurry videos?
Yeah, no. And that seems to be, that's shutter speed versus lighting conditions versus something knowing that it's being photographed and trying to get away. That's the nature of the business. We call that a blob squatch, not a Sasquatch, a blob squatch. It could be, should be, maybe it is, but then maybe you're looking at, like the back end of the moose as he's walking away quickly.
Yeah, I hear you.
So yeah, that's a pretty standard thing to get the blurry and grainy photographic and videos.
Mike, I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to step out at the bottom of the hour here. Michael Thompson, SasquatchTracker.com is his website. More Bigfoot talk right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, BUMBLEFOOT.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch. Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
We've passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. I am your host, Dave Scott. From the frozen Canadian tundra to the Alaskan frozen tundra, we go looking for Sasquatch tonight with Michael Thompson from SasquatchTracker.com. Before we bring Michael back on, I want to remind you a great way to support this show is to head on over to our Spaced Out Radio store on our website, hit the shop tab. You can pick up t-shirts, coffee mugs, hats, shirts, you name it. We got it. Good way to support this show. So if you want to look good, go get some swag from us. Definitely. Michael, thank you so much for talking Sasquatch tonight. I want to get into a question from our audience right off the bat. Andrew is asking, Mike, do you think that Bigfoot can actually kill hunters like the guy down in Tennessee that was found stuffed backwards in his vehicle? I think the guy shot one and had a really bad encounter afterwards.
Oh, they definitely kill people. There's documented cases where that's occurred up here. One I'm thinking of has happened on the Yukon River along, I want to say, Ruby, Galena area. There's also Port Chatham, which was a village. This is a different area than the Yukon River event, but there was people that were found mutilated up there, and it was bad enough that the entire village of Port Chatham has been vacated now. It's like a ghost town. It's been abandoned because of the killings.
Really? Were the killings happening during the day or the night?
I don't think that it's not going to, the killing isn't depending on the time of day. It's depending on when the encounter happens. There's not like I can't make a correlation that these are nighttime killings versus, something that happened at lunch. I think it's more infringement of territory, something feeling threatened and attacking, that kind of thing. So those kinds of events happen around the clock. I can't say day or night. I can't make a pattern or draw a conclusion about that one.
So when you are having these types of investigations go on and it starts to involve people, how do you decipher whether or not it's not something that's being hallucinated? What are you looking for?
Well, first of all, I go into the interview with the idea that even though I'm a confirmed believer, I know, but I go into the interview with the open mind or the mindset of, you have to prove to me that something happened. It's pretty easy to detect hoaxes. A lot of training from law enforcement, from interviewing thousands of people over the years. So I kind of got a feel of when people's body language isn't right, or they're avoiding eye contact with me when we're meeting face to face. I do try to get sworn statements after people have reported encounters. Get sworn meaning appearing before notary public and having it stamped off as, raise their hand, I swear this is the truth. A lot of people shy away from that. That doesn't necessarily mean that they're hoaxing or lying. I think some of that's intimidation. They're afraid of being on record as having this because of the ridicule. But I always go into this with the open mind, prove to me that something happened. Then I'm analyzing what the people are saying. A lot of times it takes me, a few days to get back to somebody because they say, well, I was driving for 10 minutes. So I go down there and I drive to where this happened. Then I try to drive 10 minutes. I try to recreate the event. And then I contact them again for follow-up questions. So a lot of it, you have to kind of just, grain of salt. You got to kind of play it by ear, go with the flow.
With the creatures that you are investigating and the Sasquatch that are being seen by these people, potentially harming them, a lot of First Nations will claim that they will come right into the villages, shaking houses, shaking windows, rattling doorknobs. Do we get a lot of that intimate, close encounter type activity up there as well?
Yeah, the one thing that I get a lot about is broken into and fish being stolen. So vandalism and theft. Not so much, knocking on a window kind of thing. I'm sure that kind of stuff occurs, but it's more theft and vandalism, something breaking into it, into a smokehouse and taking, a quarter of caribou that's hanging up, or I get a lot of that kind of stuff. So it definitely occurs.
Share with us a story of something that was really, really stuck in your mind about one of these encounters.
this goes back, let me see here. This is called the Glacier Demon, and this occurred in April of 1899, and this is in Valdez. Remember, 1899 is the gold rush up here. 1898 was the year of discovery. 1899 was all the people flooded up here for the Klondike, the gold rush. And one of the ways up to the Klondike was through Valdez. And the Army Corps of Engineers, a guy named Abercrombie, I got to find it, Captain Abercrombie, not Corps of Engineers, sorry, 2nd U.S. Inventory was sent to Alaska during the Klondike Gold Rush. And the Glacier Demon is at the, it's on the Valdez Glacier. A guy they called a Swede had gone up there with his son. And the son ended up being killed. And the reason that this, not about aspect of it, a death involved. The thing that got in my mind is this is the first documented encounter by European or people that are not Native American, we'll put it like that. So this one sticks out because it's historical, and because of the date, 1899, it's establishing, over a century of recording, stuff from that event to the present day. So when I look at this event, it's kind of like the cornerstone of a building. Everything's set from that event forward. There are things that happened before that event, of course, but they're not recorded per se like this one is. So this is the one event that really sticks out in my mind. They had gone up to a place. Well, let me see here. I got it in my notes here. If people want to look this up, it's on my blog, Historical Bad Boy Glacier Demon Terrorizes Miners and Kills One. And this was published on February 5th of 2016. So if you go to my blog, which is sasquatchtracker.wordpress.com, and you search for it, you'll be able to read the whole encounter there. But basically, these guys were traveling up this glacier, and they used the glacier as a route up there, and they came across this thing, and it was mad. It was angry, and it was probably territorial, felt threatened, but eventually it killed his son. The guy that's with him, the father, doesn't give very much detail about, exactly what happened, but it was enough that it rattled him that when he went back down into town, excuse me, went back down into the settlement of Valdez, it was enough that people were talking about it. People are talking about it. That kind of shows a general, not so much rumor, but other people had experienced similar things. And so that one really sticks out in my mind. I said before, it's the historical, the cornerstone, but it also shows that violent aspect. I wrote a series called Historical Bad Boys that were based on events like this. And I called it the Historical Bad Boys because the bad boys part was theft or threatening behavior or murder or killing. And historical, of course, is because it happened before World War II, most of these.
How about stories that you have personally investigated that maybe have happened during your 30-year tenure? Is there a story or two that really, really sticks out that maybe is kind of eerie or creepy?
Well, it's a personal experience here. Been out moose hunting in the fall, hearing distinct pattern tree knocking, like what we were discussing before. The normal four sounds would stop when the tree knocking occurred. Don't know if it was trying to locate me or if it was one Sasquatch communicating with another Sasquatch saying that I was in the area. But after this tree knocking event, I thought it might be a good idea to go back to my Jeep at that point because I just didn't feel right about things. And it was quite a hike back to my vehicle where I was parked. And the entire time that I'm walking down this trail, I have this feeling that there's something about 100 yards, maybe 125 yards off my right as I'm going back down towards where I am. It's on my right side. And I kept feeling and hearing things that didn't seem right. So I felt like I was being stalked. So that was definitely by far the creepiest thing that I've encountered. I felt like I was being hunted.
What's that feeling when you're being stalked?
Fear, panic, uneasiness, knowing that something's not right. For me, I was moose hunting, so I was constantly checking my firearm. I got to have some, if something happens, what am I going to do? I was mentally rehearsing, coming to a fork in the trail and having, coming face to face. And if it was a bear, so be it, I can shoot a bear. But if it was a Sasquatch, I didn't know what I was going to do. So I was trying to mentally prep myself. So there was a lot of fear and anxiety. If you've been stalked, you would know. Definitely something that I don't want to have happen again.
You must feel really, really small as a person when that happens.
Yeah, all the normal thoughts of what's my family going to do when I don't come home for dinner? Those kinds of things went through my mind also. What's it going to be like for my family if they find my body, ripped apart and shredded and thrown up in a tree or something? So those kinds of things crossed my mind too when this happened. So the overall fear, and then the fear of how my family would take the news, or fear of what it would do to my dependents and things like that afterwards. So you definitely know you are the small fish in the pond when something like that goes on. I agree completely on that one. You feel very vulnerable.
Why go out alone, though?
Population, where I live, it's remote, and I'm the only researcher in the area. I also feel that large groups of people, not that it's wrong, but the more people in the group, the more noise, the more human scent is in the area, the more presence that animals and beings can detect. So when you're going solo or by yourself, you're presenting a smaller signal in the environment. It's not as much of an impact. There's always going to be the squirrel that chatters at you and things like that. But if you've got a group of guys going by, then you've got noise and people are going to the bathroom, so you've got scent everywhere and that kind of thing. People camping out, and then they're sitting around the campfire. Lots of guys want to drink beer and make noise and laugh and tell jokes and stuff up until 2 or 3 in the morning. So those kinds of things, they drive game away. They drive Bigfoot away, Sasquatch away. If you go by yourself, you're presenting a smaller presence. I think you're more successful alone.
All right, let's move to some audience questions here. Joey is asking, he's been busy tonight, says, do you have any reports of white-haired Sasquatches as natural camouflage?
As in, albino?
Yes.
Perhaps, maybe, or... No, but lots of the marked hominids. So there's lots of Sasquatch that have that dappled appearance or a piebald appearance. Some that are black and brown with highlights, different highlights, auburn and maybe white or blonde. Nothing like, the stereotypical image of a Yeti being all white or something like that. Nothing like that in Alaska.
All right. Adder is asking, have any Bigfoot hunters been able to find Bigfoot by using food?
I'm not sure if other people are using Bigfoot hunters as maybe the term somebody was intending to kill one in order to produce a body to prove to science that it exists versus a researcher using food. I've used, sugar cookies and things like that before as bait, but I don't know if something's been killed because of the use of food. And if it is, people aren't talking about it, because if somebody's killing a Sasquatch, this would be worldwide news.
What was your thoughts of when they brought that hunting Sasquatch show up to Alaska, trying to kill one?
A lot of damage control had to be done on my part. I had a lot of people, hesitant to report what was happening. I had to assure them that I wasn't going to try to hunt something down and kill it. And I think those kinds of things are, when people say things like that to me, are a result of what they're seeing on television. The things on television are not necessarily, in my opinion, not necessarily scientific. They're more for entertainment. So and this kind of goes back to that going out solo versus with a group. When I see these Bigfoot shows on TV, there's always a group of people trying to do something, and they're yelling and scaring things away, whereas a single researcher has more success interacting and coming close to and having an encounter by themselves. But the stuff on TV, a lot of hype, which causes a lot of damage control for me to do.
But when that television show came up there where they were literally trying to kill one, what was the attitude around Sasquatch researchers such as yourself and others in the state when that was brought forward?
I think it kind of varies from researcher to researcher. Obviously in a court of law, we can put people on death row just with testimony. But in the scientific world, you can't just say something and say it's true. People want to have a body that produces the body. And that would be one of those, we'll just kill one to prove that they exist, and then we'll try to, study it and manage it and not kill it, the future ones. But we need to kill one to make it exist, to prove to the rest of the world and to skeptical scientists. So there's a lot of guys that are definitely kill, and there's a lot of guys that are a no-kill. I kind of fall in between. Use of force policy, being a law enforcement officer, I'm in a defensive mode. If something's trying to kill me, then definitely I'm shooting, but I would rather interact and have a peaceful encounter than a violent one. So I think it varies based on attitudes and things like that, and what people are set out to, the level of proof that people want to have. Some people can look at a track and say, yep, it exists. Other people need to have hair samples and scat samples and things like that before they're convinced. Other people need to have a grainy and blurry video. And some people have to kill one in order to see the body and physically touch it. So it's kind of a personal, what you would accept as proof.
We got about 90 seconds left with you before we take our final break at the top of the hour here, before going into hour number 3. And with that type of scenario and that type of popularity, what has that done for Sasquatch research up in Alaska? Has it made people more aware, or has it, like a lot of people feel, that it's made their area seem a little bit more of a circus now?
Yeah, well, I think it's probably the more of the circus attitude. It goes back to, the amount of years that I've been doing this and not producing tangible 100%, proof. To me, my level of proof, I believe, because of the things that I've encountered and felt and seen and things like that. But then it goes back to having that body. So when people can't produce the body, then it's like, oh yeah, that's just this ongoing hoax kind of thing. And, guys that do this kind of work are crazy. And that's part of the business too, is being ridiculed. But now, because of the level of technology, people are, well, how come it hasn't been proved? If it was real, it would have been proved by now. So it's kind of a circus attitude, which is unfortunate.
Michael, I'm going to get you to hold on here because we're going to hop out for our break at the top of the hour. Our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio, Michael Thompson. He is a Sasquatch investigator the last 30 years, living out of the state of Alaska. And his website, you definitely want to check it out, SasquatchTracker.com. If you want to read his blog, you go to SasquatchTracker.wordpress.com. We got another half an hour of Sasquatch talk from Alaska right after this. And then, of course, the SOR Newswire and the Thought of the Dave as well. Hour number 3 coming up. At spacedoutradio.com, we have a little bit of everything for you to stay up late. So while you're there, check out our SOR Newswire, where our team brings you stories of the weird and strange to the WTF from around the globe. News on Bigfoot, UFOs, paranormal, Darwinian-type crime tales. It's the stories that the mainstream media usually won't touch. Well, we got them all on the SOR Newswire, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Come hang out with Spaced Out Radio, where we own the night. This is Carl. You can follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, and during the show, use the hashtag Spaced Out Radio to chat with us live. On Instagram, at Dave Scott SOR. On Facebook, give our page a like, Spaced Out Radio Show. SOR archives are free on YouTube at Spaced Out Radio. Come join us, or I will come join you. See you at your window.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
We are getting ready to relaunch the SOR Space Travelers Club at spacedoutradio.com. For $5 a month, you can join us for a plethora of features found nowhere else. Hang out in a private chat room during the show and after party. You can check out some exclusive content and a store specifically for you, as well as a private listener forum where you can post your thoughts, stories, and pictures. The SOR Space Travelers Club, coming soon to spacedoutradio.com.
The freedom to post what you want, when you want. That's the social media freedom you need. Social Media Freedom is the free app in your app store. No need to worry about going to jail or being shadow banned any longer. It's the freedom to say what you feel. The freedom to know Big Brother isn't watching. It's the way social media is supposed to be. Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free. Download from your app store today.
Find your escape where time has no limits. It's about living today and cherishing the heritage of yesterday. A spirit of adventure for what is new, with the nostalgia of the past. Your timepiece is a reflection of who you are. Life surrounded by beauty from the world around us to the soul within. EscapeWatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
The Call of the Wild is in Vancouver. The Moose Vancouver is one of the hottest bars and restaurants in the city. Open until 2 a.m. nightly, the Moose will rock you like a hurricane all night long. Great food with everything on the menu at $6.95 near the corner of Nelson and Granville. Get your horns up and come rock with us. The Moose Vancouver, the official rocking bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7, with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Get your horns up with me on Spaced Out Radio. This is Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Come tune in to SOR where you can hear me rock out with Little Brother is Watching, the official theme song of Spaced Out Radio. And then come on over to bumblefoot.com where you can find out about my tour schedule, my music, and everything else. Bumblefoot.com keeps you up to date on what I'm doing and the best way to stay in touch with my music and music camps. Sign up for my newsletter at bumblefoot.com and remember, Little Brother is watching.
Hey, this is Canadian Paranormal Investigator Mike Moore. The third Wednesday of every month, I'll be teaming up with Dave Scott to bring you Ghosts of the Great White North. Each month, we will bring on guests from across Canada to discuss their ghostly encounters. Canada is a paranormal hotbed with stories you've never heard, so we're going to bring them to you. So get comfy on your Chesterfield, grab a donut, and join us, eh?
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
On the first Tuesday of every month, I encourage you to come along for a journey with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You. Together, we will take a look at how to access the highest expression of yourself and change your life. Consciousness, ET contact, health, and wellness, we can talk about it all. So come along for a spiritual ride with me, Geraldine Orozco, on The Spiritual You, only on Spaced Out Radio.
You know, it's hard being the bad man of ufology, but that's just the way that I like it. This is Chris George Zuger, and I'll be hanging out with Dave Scott and SOR scientist Chris Cogswell for Reality Paranormal, the second Wednesday of every month. And our job is to break it down and come to conclusions as to what is really going on in the supernatural world. I'd love for you to join us right here on Spaced Out Radio.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Welcome back to the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio. Tonight, I am your host, Dave Scott. Great to have you with us. Tomorrow night on the show, we get all paranormal, talking about the haunted Dybbuk box. Jason Haxton will be our guest, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at spacedoutradio.com. Hi to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates, UPRN 107.7 FM in New Orleans, WQEE 99.1 FM in Noonan, Georgia, KDUN AM 1030 in Reedsport, Oregon, and KZFX 93.7 FM in Ridgecrest, California. Good to have you with us. And of course, on the digital side, we got Revolution Radio. Thank you for tuning us in, along with everyone on Deep Talk Radio. Don't forget, you can check out all of our archives at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Just do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Superbius. Superbius is your password. Make sure you use it wisely, space travelers, as the clam sets the password each and every night right here on the mighty SOR. Our website is spacedoutradio.com, where we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot. Go shopping at our Spaced Out Radio store. It's a great way to support this show. And, of course, you can always read up on the SOR Newswire, brought to you by our news director, Captain Shirk. For the final time tonight, we introduce Michael Thompson. He is a Sasquatch and cryptid researcher up in the state of Alaska. We've been talking Sasquatch all night. Michael, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me again.
Besides Sasquatch, you have also looked into other cryptids. You've looked into Dogman reports. You've looked into Thunderbird reports. I want to talk about the Thunderbird here for a couple of minutes, if you don't mind, in regards to this giant bird that's allegedly flying out there. It's been seen in the northern reaches of North America. It's been seen on the East Coast. It's been seen around the Gulf of Mexico. Define what you have been investigating up there.
Most of the stuff is secondhand information, of course. I don't have any direct contact with witnesses that have seen this. Based on the description that I'm getting, it almost sounds like a stellar sea eagle, which would, I believe they're from Russia, I want to say. So it's not impossible for something to cross over from Russia. Alaska and Russia are pretty close together there at the top. So it would not be unusual for something, or not impossible for something. So when people are seeing that a stellar sea eagle, and then when you look up into the sky, you have clouds, but there's no way of telling out what the size of the cloud is. You can kind of judge, but then your distance, there's no visual clues to give you a scale reference. Not saying that they're not seeing a Thunderbird or a large bird, but things appear bigger when you're looking up in the sky, and it's hard to judge, the actual wingspan. Not discounting it, because there's plenty of legends of Thunderbirds, in Native American culture just about everywhere. So things like that do occur, and there's, that kind of a belief going on.
Do you believe there is some super bird bigger than the condor that is flying around?
I believe that it's definitely a possibility. It kind of goes back to the Sasquatch research. Does the environment have the means to support a larger than normal bird? Is there adequate food source for it? Is there, seasonal food sources that come and go and change with the seasons that a large being like that can feed on, that would allow it to live year-round in this environment? So when you ask me if I believe in that kind of thing, I have to look at the environmental factors, and I would say yes, it's definitely a possibility, especially up in Alaska.
How could it go so unnoticed, though? I mean, you would think there would be more reports, especially from pilots, from people who spend a lot of time out in the wilderness. I mean, there would be something happening there.
Remoteness of the area. You got to remember that Alaska is like 1/4 of the size of the lower 48 U.S. So you have something this large and this vast with a relatively small population. I don't even think we're at 1 million yet. We're still at the 900,000 level for population up here. So we're very, very rural, and most of the population, of course, is Anchorage and Fairbanks, and then southeast Juneau and Ketchikan and those places. So you've got a lot of places as soon as you get out of the city that there is like little to no population. So these things are occurring out there, but there's nobody there to see it. Pilots aren't just flying out to see something. They're taking a definite route to get to someplace to drop off mail or supplies. There's obviously some flight scene going on, tourism type things, but those are still following a set route someplace, up to Denali Park and back down. So they're using the same thing. So you've got this remote space with very little people, so it's definitely not going reported. I think it's occurring more than than people realize, though. But it's just not being, because of that, being the remoteness, it's not being reported.
Where do you think this creature lives? Up in the mountains, some of the big trees that are up there? Where do you think it's surviving? Obviously, if it's that big, it could pretty much take what it wants for food, but it still would have to have some sort of home.
Definitely forested, Boreal forested environment. You get up in the higher latitudes where you're out of the tree line, there's just not the game that's there in a boreal forest environment. That kind of thing supports smaller animals like snowshoe hares and things like that. There's always, some of these things live in a barren ground environment, the Arctic environment. But I think the most survivability is the boreal forest area. So you're talking mountains and, foothills. Where I am, there's lots of bogs, low spots where the water's collected. So those are places where this thing could definitely survive.
Do you get a lot of reports of Dogman up there?
Not so much Dogman, but more the Wahila, the giant, leftover dire wolf population from the last ice age, like the super wolf. Not something that's up on two legs walking around, but more of the supersized wolf, the mega wolf.
So the Dogman phenomena really hasn't hit up there yet, or just hasn't been seen, because I've had some reports coming out of northern British Columbia, and up until a couple of years ago, even talking to people like Linda Godfrey, who's like the queen of the cryptids, she has never even heard of any reports from British Columbia up until recently as well. So I'm just kind of curious, do you think it could be a creature that could eventually find its way up there?
Definitely could. I'm going to say there is one story, Yupik story. Maybe it's not Yupik, so I don't know exactly, but it definitely is something at a higher latitude. The legend is that there was a woman that she was upset because her father wouldn't let her marry the boy that she was in love with, or the man that she was in love with, and she eventually slept with a wolf and produced this just as like a revenge kind of a thing. And so she slept with this wolf, and as a result, the child from this encounter, shaped like a man, but also shaped like the wolf, ran around on two legs. And I want to say it was called the Adlet, A-D-L-E-T. But that's local legend, and, obviously people are not mating with wolves, so it's kind of a folklore. But if people, are seeing something like that or saying something like that, it also, would suggest that maybe they have seen something like that and they're trying to describe or explain it in a way that it makes sense to the origin of it. When I'm looking at adlets here, I got my computer in front of me here so we can talk about various things here. They're saying a race of creatures in Inuit mythology of Greenland as well as Labrador and Hudson Bay. But there's also up in Alaska that Adlet legend. So
what is the Adlet?
The Dogman, that's based on the drawing that I'm looking at. It looks like a werewolf. Looks like a man with a dog's head. Very shaggy. Like what you would think of a werewolf being in a movie, a television movie, like a Dogman.
Oh, weird. Very, very weird. I want to get to some audience questions here, if you don't mind. Trip is asking, have you looked up and seen any UFOs or reports of UFOs while getting reports of Bigfoot? Are the two being tied together up there?
Other researchers probably are. When I'm getting reports of Bigfoot, that's not something that I'm making a connection with UFO. I don't connect Bigfoot activity or Sasquatch activity with UFO activity. That's not something that I'm not doing in my research.
Okay. A few years ago, Survivor man Les Stroud was doing one of his shows up in Alaska where he felt that he was actually in his campground being surrounded or stalked by a Sasquatch. Did you ever follow that report?
I know about that. There's a link to his video on my website about that. I watched it a good dozen times, trying to analyze what he was seeing, what he was hearing, based on where he is and my knowledge of where he was doing that particular episode of the Survivor Man. Definitely back to that environmental stuff. There's definitely the environment that would support something like that. His reaction, you know, he was pretty conservative in his reaction because he doesn't want to be, oh my gosh, that's a Bigfoot up there, because then you've got a well-known celebrity, famous survival guy saying something like that on camera and like admitting to the world that there's something here. So he's kind of seeing it, you know, as a professional, I got to maintain my reputation, got to maintain my demeanor. But after looking at the video, he definitely saw something, and it was definitely not a bear.
Oh, I would agree with you. I would totally agree with you. And, you know, in regards to something like that, it does give a little bit of credibility because he does have that credibility in the forest and out in nature, that he's not about to try and pull the wool over people's eyes and say or film something that truly isn't there. So, I mean, hey, why not? Why not? Let's move on here. Joe is asking, have you ever tried to track Sasquatch at night using a thermal camera?
No, I have tried using call blasting now. What worked for me is I went online and I found a CD of whale sounds. And these are like humpback whales. I think they recorded around Seattle area. But that kind of thing it's strange enough, and it was so similar to other recorded, you know, Bigfoot sounds that are online on the internet, that I tried using the whale sound CD, and I would broadcast these things over like a little speaker through an MP3 player, and I was getting responses back. As far as using thermal imagery and things like that, no, I haven't done anything like that.
Joey is wondering, with all the corrupt intentions out there from Sasquatch researchers, what would you do if you came across a Sasquatch body?
Well, definitely, you know, you need to preserve it, treat it like it's a crime scene. So you're going to, you know, keep people away from it. You don't want things to be tampering with it. The more people that know, the more people show up, and the more that, you know, your evidence is potentially going to be ruined. So you got to treat it like it's a crime scene. Depending on the situation, location, and a few things like that, is it something that I could bring the whole body back and keep someplace where it won't decompose quickly? Do I have the means to bring, you know, 1,000-pound being back without cutting it up? So there's going to be, depending on what I find, there's going to be, you know, off the top of my head, I'm going to have to say it depends on the situation. If I'm finding body parts that are easy to transport back and bring back for analysis, definitely be doing that after I could do complete photography, you know, of the scene, take measurements and landmarks and GPS it and things like that. But if you're talking a whole body, you know, moving 1,000-pound thing and keeping it intact and keeping your evidence from being spoiled or ruined it's a difficult thing. So it just depends on what you find and what the situation is and where, and the location, of course.
All right, let's continue on here. B. Baker is asking you, the Thunderbird is cool. The sightings are pretty wild, but the one that weirds him out is pterodactyl sightings. Have you had any of those up there?
Yeah, related to the Thunderbirds, a lot of people have described it as looking like that. Not just the sea eagle-looking type thing, but they've also said the pterodactyl type of like a big wing that looks webbed like a bat. I haven't heard anything about the pointed head, the pointed beak, and I guess on the pterodactyl there's like a a sagittal crest that's pretty pronounced or pointed on the back of the head. I don't hear things like that, but the winged being webbed looking, I've heard that before. So I guess you could relate that to a pterodactyl type of a creature.
All right. Let's continue on here. In regards to B. Baker's questions, he goes, have you experienced while you're out there any time slips or paranormal activity?
No. And as far as like the panic and fear and anxiety and things, I think that's kind of just on the situation. I don't feel like there's been any telepathy or ESP or anything like that directed at me to make me feel more afraid than a normal, reasonable person would feel in that situation. I don't feel anything like that. As far as time slips and things like that, no, I have no experience with that. To me, it's not supernatural or spiritual. It's a flesh and blood thing. So I'm not feeling that kind of or not getting that vibe, if you want to call it, when things like that happen.
Very understandable. We only got about 5 minutes left with you tonight, my friend, and I want to say thank you so much for doing this. For people out there who are like myself, where they're weekend warriors, they may have the passion, but they don't have the time or the ability to get out in the forest in the evenings or on the weekends very often. Complete rookies, let's say. What's your advice to people such as us who would like to go out and look for this creature, but don't really know where to start?
Well, you got to do your homework. Look online, talk to people, and collect different stories, different encounters, plot these on a map. You know, these things are occurring on, at the end of Jones Road at night. So you get all these stories about Jones Road and you're plotting these little things on a map on Jones Road, then you're going to identify that, for example, Jones Road. So you're going to see that Jones Road is kind of a hot spot. So that's what I call doing the homework. Excuse me, my throat's dry here. So when you do the homework and you identify those patterns, then you can kind of refine it. And when do these things happen on Jones Road? Are these daytime sightings? Are they evening sightings? Are they summer versus winter? When you start recording these things and you start putting these little pins in a map or dots on a map, you're going to find hot spots. Places where people see things are along roads and campgrounds because that's where people are. So the rookie going out there, do your homework, and you'll be more successful.
Be aware of your environment, too, because no matter what, whether you're out hiking or whether you're out on a logging road in a vehicle, safety does come first.
Definitely. Don't put yourself in harm's way and be smart about this. If you're in a place that looks like a rock slide's going to happen, you're taking an unnecessary risk. If it's safer to go at a different time to avoid avalanche, winter versus summer, definitely you take the safe route. If there's other environmental factors, the area's blown, flash flooding or something like that, you got to be aware. You got to preserve yourself and take care of yourself. That's more important, of course. Sasquatch is secondary. Your well-being is first, of course.
Indeed it is. Do you recommend people taking kids out for this? Because there could be people out there who want, to say, hey, my child is 8, 9 years old. They have an interest in this. I'd like to take them out as well. What do you think?
I think it depends on the parent and the maturity level of the child. I mean, each family is going to have their own views and what they think is appropriate and not appropriate. Living out here, I've taken my kids on most of my, research expeditions daily and things like that. But then again, I'm, being the father of the family here, I'm also the big influence. So my kids are definite believers too. Other kids that hear something at home, online or at school, and then they want to go out and do it. It's going to be hard to convince the parent if the parent's not a believer. So it kind of depends on the family situation, what's appropriate for the child, and what the adult or the parent thinks is a good idea to do too. but definitely get kids involved, because that's where the next generation of researchers come from. So if you're taking children out there, be responsible and set the good standard and the ethical standard and the ethical behavior, because the kids are going to act like the parent, and that's where the good research is going to happen when these people grow up.
We got about 90 seconds left with you tonight, and I want to say a big thank you for you coming on this show tonight and breaking down what is happening up in Alaska. Sounds like there's a lot of action up there, which is always, always incredible, and please stay in touch with that. Let our listeners know where they can find your blog, your website, and get a hold of you to find out more information about Sasquatch.
The website, www.sasquatchtracker.com. My blog, there's a link from the website to the blog, but the blog is wordpress.sasquatchtracker.com. I do most of my stuff by email because I keep different hours because of my shift work, because of law enforcement. So preferred method of contacting me is via email. Links on the blog and the website to my email address. Best time to catch me, I check my email daily before going to work, so there's not like a best time to catch me kind of a thing. I'm always going to check the email before, once a day or every couple of days. So
for sure,
if you do contact me, don't be offended if I don't respond immediately. Like I said, I'm a one-man operation.
Yep.
And a lot of times it takes me a little bit of time to filter through things because I'm working on a different report or
not a problem
on something else, and I prioritize things as they come in. So,
Mike, I got to cut you off right there because we got to say goodnight. SOR Newswire coming on up.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio Live with Dave Scott on the Deep Talk Radio Network.
A timepiece is a reflection of who you are, and what better way to show off the real you than with an Escape watch? Escape is a lifestyle brand accessorizing your days and nights. Choose to escape and create the life of discovery that you deserve. Dream, play, unite with your own personalized Escape watch. Head to escapewatches.com. There is no time like the present to enjoy your escape. Use promo code SMF2017 for your 20% discount today.
Hi there, this is Geraldine Orozco from San Francisco's Bay Area Meditation. I invite you to join me the first Tuesday of every month with Dave Scott for Spaced Out Radio's The Spiritual You. In this fast-paced world we live in, it's time for you to take some time for you. We'll cover every possible subject from powerful meditation to healing techniques to your own intuition and spirituality. So come join us for The Spiritual You.
So, you love talk radio? Then you'll love TalkStreamLive.com. TalkStream Live is always on, 24/7 with the best streaming talk shows. Find your favorite talkers and discover some new ones. It's free, readily available online or on mobile with any smartphone or tablet. Finding your favorite talk shows all in one place has gotten a whole lot easier. Just go to TalkStreamLive.com. Be sure to download the free apps from Google Play or the iTunes App Store.
Looking for a place to advertise at a very reasonable cost? Look no further than Spaced Out Radio. SpacedOutRadio.com has an advertising tab that you can click to check out our daily, weekly, and monthly packages to play on the radio, or our website including social media. From commercial spots to banners, we have it all. Check out our competitive pricing today.
Hello, this is your guitar man, Ron Bumblefoot THAL, and I have to tell you, I love the response I get for Little Brother is Watching from Spaced Out Radio fans. It's amazing how music can inspire and make people think deeper about what's going on in the supernatural world. You can head over to my website, bumblefoot.com, to check out my music, my guitar workshops, my touring, even check out some of the hot sauces that I'm working on. And make sure you keep on listening, because with Spaced Out Radio, you know Little Brother is watching.
You hear footsteps in the empty room above you. A rocking chair begins rocking by itself. Don't be afraid of the things that go bump in the night. Reach for Spirit Storybox, the iPhone app the Huffington Post UK called the only ghost hunting app you will ever need. Spirit Storybox. The spirits are telling their stories. Are you listening?
Coming soon to our website, spacedoutradio.com, is the SOR Space Travelers Club. For just $5 a month, you can get into a private area on our site where you can hang with other listeners in our chat room, post in our forum, and check out a bunch of exclusive content and store that won't be found anywhere else, including a nightly after-show party with Dave. It's going to be the best $5 a month you're going to spend. The SOR Space Travelers, only at spacedoutradio.com.
Are you tired of being blocked, shadow banned, or placed in jail for simply posting your thoughts on social media? Social Media Freedom can take care of that for you. Social Media Freedom is the newest and one of the best free new apps that allows you the freedom to post what you want, when you want. It takes seconds to download from your app store. Come join the tribe at Social Media Freedom. It's time to set yourself free.
Are you intrigued by Paranormal Talk Radio? You'll love the new Paranormal Radio app from TalkStream Live. You'll find a great selection of talk shows covering UFOs, ghosts, strange phenomena, and much more. Download the Paranormal Radio app now and start listening to the very best in paranormal talk entertainment, including the network you're listening to right now, the Paranormal Radio app, free in Google Play and the iOS App Store.
Visit purpleplates.com today. For over 40 years, the Purple Energy Plates have been delivering amazing results for their many customers. Inspired by the great genius Nikola Tesla, the harmony, healing, and energetic effects of the plates have proven over and over to be beneficial and often miraculous to thousands of customers. Check their site for daily specials and choose from their many energy products. You won't be sorry. Visit them today at purpleplates.com.
We're bringing scientific thought to the paranormal. Hi there, this is Spaced Out Radio scientist Chris Cogswell. Join me, Chris Zuger, and Dave Scott the second Wednesday of every month, where we break down the who from the woo when it comes to everything paranormal. We'll investigate and try to bring sensible answers to those straight and sometimes outlandish questions people have. Hey, not everything has an answer, but we'll do our best. Listen in to Reality Paranormal only on Spaced Out Radio.
Did you know Spaced Out Radio runs 7 days a week? Hi there, this is Tessa Nicole Thomas, and I'm here to take you on a paranormal journey each Saturday and Sunday night. Why change the station when you have it all right here? Together, we'll hang out and share some strange and scary stories. And don't forget, we have Psychic Sundays as well, so come tune in Spaced Out Weekend. We get going at 9 p.m. Pacific, midnight Eastern, only at spacedoutradio.com, where we own the night.
Heading to Vancouver and looking for a night on the town? The Moose Vancouver is the bar that never stops rocking until 2 a.m. every night. The Moose has great food with everything on the menu from $6.95 to $8.95. Fantastic, vibrant staff and rock and roll that will bring you back to when the music was real, the hair was long, and the guitars were rocking. Get your party on at the Moose Vancouver, the official party bar of Spaced Out Radio.
Hi, George Norrie here. Are you ready for UFO MegaCon, the immersion event? 7 days, 8 nights, 50 new speakers, UFO military witnesses, experiencer groups, skywatches, and so much more. Join me at UFO MegaCon, March 24th through the 30th in Laughlin, Nevada. Truly the one and only new information conference of the year. Now check it out at UFOMegaCon.com. That's UFOMegaCon.com.
We've rounded third. We're heading for home tonight on Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters right here in the frozen Canadian tundra. And, of course, it's time to get to the weird, the wacky, the head-scratchers of the night. Paranoia Magazine presents the SOR Newswire. The news is always changing, which is why we bring you the SOR Newswire at the back end of every show, talking about the news that may not make the mainstream headlines, but will make you think and wonder about people, places, things. It's kind of interesting sometimes. And, of course, you can find all of your news at spacedoutradio.com. Click on the news tab. Captain Shirk has everybody rocking and rolling with the news each and every night. We're going to start off with kind of a cool story here. All right. So, like football south of the border, hockey up here, as you know, is pretty darn big. Well, there is a group of former NHL hockey players who are visiting and doing tests with Dr. Charles Tater out of the Toronto Western Hospital's Canadian Concussion Center. And what they are doing is they are actually doing medical tests to see the value of cannabinoids, to combine with other treatments to help treat post-concussion syndrome. There's about 100 former NHL players who've had concussions previously who signed up for this test. It's kind of cool. It's kind of cool because the NHL's Alumni Association has 29 chapters, 3,800 members, and they are looking for some sort of help. I mean, you know, we always put these athletes on a pedestal because we see them on our television on a nightly basis or a weekly basis. You know, we see the physical players, how hard they play for that crest on that jersey because we really, really want our home team to win or our favorite team to win. But the bangs and the bruises sometimes have lifetime effects, especially with concussions and post-concussion syndrome. Now, if you've never had a concussion, they're pretty bad. I've had a couple going back to my hockey playing days. And there are times where, like before I had concussion, I never had migraines, vertigo, things like that. So they're going to be testing these cannabinoids to see if they can help ease the tension on the brain. I wonder if it'll work. Will it help the central nervous system? They're hoping. You know, but the only way you can do is test it. And if this does work, hopefully a lot of these athletes who suffer from post-concussion syndrome or have had their careers ended, not just professional athletes, but even young teenagers as well. I knew a kid. His name was Ralph. One of the best hockey players I ever saw. I've watched this kid skate since he was like 10, 11 years old. He was destined for the NHL. By the time he hit 16 years old, he had 6 major concussions. Because once you get one, your head goes a little soft. It's a little terminology in sports. And it's easier to get that other one. And what they're trying to do with this test with the cannabinoids is they're trying to see if they could control the depression, the post-traumatic stress disorder, and progressive dementia, along with chronic traumatic I can't even pronounce that word. Encephalopathy, pardon me. So hopefully this could bring some major awareness to people who play contact sports. All right, we're going to stick with Canada here for a second. But you may have heard me during the show with Michael Thompson mention about these wolves. Now, I thought it was down at Yosemite, but it's not. So apparently, in Lake Superior's Isle Royale National Park in Michigan, as part of an effort to rebuild the dwindling wolf population and help control the moose population, they have taken 4 Canadian wolves and dropped them off. 3 males, 1 female. They were all past their immigration tests. So the TSA was lined up there waiting to process their passports, put them through the metal detectors. Now, the cool part about this was that they immediately, after being drugged, because you have to sedate the animals to get them across the border, they immediately started helping out and finding their ground. It was like they never left that area, even though they had never been there before. So part of the reason why they're doing that is they're trying to help control the moose population, estimated in that small area to be about 1,500 moose. That's a lot of moose. Because the worry is if the moose herd is not kept in check, the animals will continue overeating the island shrubs and trees and increase their chances, the moose chances, of mass starvation. So there was already 4 wolves there, 3 females and a male. So this now brings up 8 wolves into the area that they are hoping will help straighten it out. I mean, I love the wolves. We got a big issue with them up here, but they are a gorgeous animal. Gorgeous animal. Sticking with animals, even though I don't think they're really animals, scientists believe that the baby Tyrannosaurus Rex was all furry and cuddly. Oh, look how cute. Look how cute. Feather-covered even. It always amazes me how they find this stuff out. What do they find that tests them out? Well, apparently, they were able to find out because they were able to find an egg with a T-Rex hatchling inside of it. It's about the size of a turkey. Its arms are about the size of toothpicks. Help me. Right? But it was coated, the fossils that were coated in downy-type feathers. Now, what this really means to us, I really have no clue. Because we always think of the Tyrannosaurus Rex as being massive. Well, this thing looks like a bird. Like a turkey with an eagle's head on it. Not that ugly piece of skin that hangs from its chin. No, none of that. So they figure by the time the T-Rex was 20 years old, it would stand 12 to 13 feet high at the hip and span about 43 feet from nose to tail, weigh about 6 to 9 tons. So it grew pretty quick. They figured that the juveniles would gain about 6 pounds per day for 13 years, according to paleontologist Mark Norell. But just weird. Imagine Tyrannosaurus Rex with feathers. Very odd. Here's a cool story coming out of the Pacific Northwest. In order to combat homelessness, in Eugene, Oregon, they've started setting up these, I don't know if you want to call them homeless camps, because they're not really campsites, but these mini huts for homeless people to have their home and store their items. All of them come with a bed raised up off the floor. One homeless lady said it's warm, it's awesome, it's amazing. They only got about 60 square feet, but it gives them someplace safe and secure and to keep their possessions dry. I mean, how hard is this? I mean, these shelters are only costing, $2,500? Less than the tiny homes that go for about 10 to 20 grand? Sure, it comes out of taxpayers' money, but I don't know about you. I don't think this is a political issue. I mean, this is a human issue. This is a good tax. I don't mind my tax dollars going for something like this. Definitely not. They're called the Conestoga Huts. There's a maximum of 20 huts in parking lots. And it keeps people warm. Those less fortunate. I think it's fantastic. Regan Watius, the mayor of Eugene City, or the manager's office, says they look nice, they look orderly, and I think people in this community appreciate the look of it as well. I think it's fantastic. We need more of this. Hopefully more towns and cities hop on. Well, we can't end the news without getting into our favorite state, Florida. So, imagine you decide to run for office. City council, let's say. How do you know when the public doesn't like you? Well, Jacksonville City Councilor candidate for District 2, Carson Tranquil, found out the hard way. So his security cameras saw a man walk up to the front of his porch and leave dog poo on his doormat. Who does that? Who does it? You really have to hate someone to walk up on their private doorstep to put a bag of poo on there. The footage of this video shows a man wearing a hoodie, gray pants, and a backpack, carrying out the alleged act of vandalism, which is what they are calling it. He walks across Tranquil's yard, takes off the backpack, zips it up, removes the dog feces, places it on the floor mat. It's terrible. Apparently, it was a large amount, too. We're not talking little poodle scrapes here, little Tootsie Rolls. No. This guy makes sure he had some St. Bernard or something like that, going for the high-quality crap. Apparently, it's about the campaign. This person didn't like what Tranquil is standing for as he runs for office. Oh. So the key is, if you're running for office, make sure that you treat people well before that so they don't go and put poo on your doorsteps. The SOR Newswire, brought to you by Captain Shirk and Paranoia Magazine. We will do it all again tomorrow night. Thought of the Dave happens every night at this time, where during the day we ask a question on our Facebook and Twitter pages and then read your responses on the air, because we love the audience participation around here. Today's Thought of the Dave is as follows. Where in North America would you like to investigate? What would you search for? Got some cool answers. We're going to start off on Twitter tonight. We're going to get to David. I would build a wideband scalar wave transceiver array and between microsatellite and airborne units survey all North America for a signal. Somewhere we must have had such a link with the ET lunar installation since the early 1950s. There's no way around it. Ufology's holy grail is that signal. There's a lot of big words in there. I'm a journalist, man, not a scientist. So, let's see where else we got here. I know there's a few. Daniel. There is a rumor of a beast in Lake Erie named Bessie. Sightings go back to 1793. Bessie has been seen from Toledo to Buffalo. Bessie is said to be Nessie's cousin. Bessie is said to have a long neck, a large bulbous body with a long tail. I'd love to troll the lake to find her. That's a good one. Graham says he wants to go to Nevada and New Mexico to set up camp and keep an eye out on all of the secret bases and alleged UFO crash sites. Rich Little Richie G from Goof on Radio. Go to YouTube to catch Richie G's show. Just type in Goof on Radio. It's always entertaining. Says nothing at all, nothing ever, nothing now, nothing tomorrow. The whole thing got out of control from what? Anyone? Bueller? Count of mutilations? No. Am I wrong? Forget about it. Somebody was on his happy pills there. Joe, in the Navajo Nation, I'd like to go have a Navajo medicine man protect me and investigate further where I had my skinwalker experience. Oh, that's just freaky. That's just absolutely freaky. Mark states, the Whitby Hotel in Upper Midtown Manhattan. I would search for an excellent dinner, jacuzzi, and a comfy bed. Other researchers can go after Bigfoot in the wild. Call when you find him, it, or her. I'll be waiting for room service. Brilliant. Dalbro wants to go look for mermaids in California. Just an excuse to go swimming and on vacation. Eric wants to go to a secret theme park for thrill seekers. And it's so secretive, he didn't even tell us where it was. That's all I'm saying. We got Paul. He wants to go looking for Sasquatch in the Caribou region. Oh, I wonder why he said that. Could that be where I am? Sure, Paul. Come join me. Let's go. Lots of Bigfoot out here. Catherine, the Stanley Hotel, 100%. Not only is it in my backyard, but the occurrences there could lead to some very conceptualized ideas from my brain. I see the world different than everyone else, and I might as well use that brain to inspire new ideas. The Stanley is iconic. October says, I really want to go to the Oregon Vortex and some famous haunted houses out in California. Probably search for energy, other dimensions, and otherworldly beings. I'd do more battlefields as well. Marla wants to go looking for Lemurians in Mount Shasta or the crystals, and 2-for-1 Bigfoot might show up. Mike Masters, just a guest on this show last week. I got a message the other day from a former student who had just heard about my book coming on to tell me about the Red Gate area near Deer Lodge in southwest Montana, where a bunch of freaky UFO stuff has been happening for decades. I guess they made a documentary about it in the early 2000s. He works on a ranch that the land is associated with this Red Gate area and said he'd take me up there. I'm looking forward to checking it out. Stunak says, I want to go to Area 51. I want the truth. Don't cross the line. People get shot there. Aussie Rob, how's tomorrow looking? Says the Chinese ovens along the highway exiting Portland, Oregon, heading towards the Multnomah Falls. Carl wants to go to the old Stardust Ranch in Arizona. Colleen, the Whaley House in San Diego, or the Queen Mary? Last one goes to Uncle Dale and his mustache. I want to go to Sedona with a bunch of electronics and a buddy or two and see what we can find. Vortexes, portals, spirits, aliens, cryptids, UFOs. It's supposed to be a real hot spot, and the scenery is just breathtaking. That's your thought of the day. Remember, you can hop on my Facebook page or Twitter at #SpacedOutRadio or at SpacedOutRadio for tomorrow's Thought of the Day. Big thank you to Michael Thompson from SasquatchTracker.com up in Alaska for being our guest tonight, breaking down Bigfoot and the Thunderbird. Great show with him. Tomorrow night on the program, we get into the Diebuck box. Is it very, very scary? Should we open it or not? Jason Haxton is our guest, 9:06 Pacific, 12:06 a.m. Eastern at SpacedOutRadio.com. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot THAL rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everyone listening in at home, in your cars, at work, in our chat rooms, on Twitter, wherever you may be. Please remember this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for telling your friends all about us, helping us get bigger and better every single night. Because together, my friends, we own the night. I will talk to you in 21 hours from now, and we will wrap up this week. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Have a good one. Good night, everybody. Thanks for listening.